Why does progress sometimes feel fake? Why isn't your elo going up even though you think you're improving and you're playing more than ever? And worst of all, why does sometimes you feel like you're actually getting worse? These are all things that we have thought at some point while playing chess, and you're not alone, I've been there many times. And I'm going to explain in this video why that happens and why it doesn't mean what you think it actually means. First, let's define something. What even is progress? Because if you look it up, the definition is simple. Here it is, I have it searched up. The definition states that the progress is a process of gradually improving or getting near to achieving and completing something, which in definition sounds really easy, just moving forward and improving. However, progress doesn't feel smooth. Progress doesn't feel consistent, and most of the time it doesn't even feel like progress. So instead of giving you textbook definition, I'm going to explain from my personal experience how I personally see it. And just to be clear, I'm not a professional in this field in any way, but I do have some real life experiences and improvement in performance. Mainly from my table tennis career, where I competed at a national level in Spain, and I've been playing for the last 7 years. And what I've learned there applies especially in chess, but in basically everything else in life. I'm going to separate this video into 5 points. My first point is going to be progress is not linear. So the first thing you need to understand is progress is not linear. This is why I have my chess.com profile in here. And well, what I want to show you is that how inconsistent my graph is here. So this is from my last 90 days, and you can see how much ups and downs we have. So here we were down, here we had a slight growth, then here we went down, and we went up, and as you can see, it's a constant trend in the whole graph. So what does this show? Well, this shows that it's impossible to be 100% consistent, it's impossible to always grow, but it also shows something else really important, is that look, at the start I was at 1817, at the end I was 2007. So what it shows is that eventually, even though the trend can be sometimes upsetting, it will have a positive correlation at the end. So that's always nice. And you can see this even clearer on my all-time stats, as well I started at around 960, well a bit less, no? 600, yeah 600. And look how much I've improved. It's always gone up, even though sometimes we had some ups and downs, it always goes up. There's one more thing I wanted to add. As you can see here, I was 1972, the 25th of February, and since I started playing chess, my objective always has been to reach 2000 elo, and it's what I've been trying to do all these years. And here, the same day in the afternoon, I lost 40 points. After that, I felt really upset. I felt like something had to change, I would never reach 2000 elo. And well, what did I do? I just went to sleep, and the next day I was more calm. I started playing and something unbelievable happened. I won 15 games in a row. Well, I went undefeated 15 games in a row. I think I drew 1 or 2 games. But how did that happen? How did I go from losing 40 points the day before to going 15 games undefeated? Well, it wasn't something that changed overnight, and it was definitely not luck. What it was the progress, the hidden progress of the previous years and months of studying that actually led me there. So yeah, that's something really important. And why? Well, why does this happen? Well, it's not linear apart from that also because everyone learns different, everybody improves at a different speed, and most importantly, progress doesn't actually come in a straight line. Like sometimes in a month you don't learn anything, and in a few days you learn everything. Okay. This also leads to sometimes feel like you're doing something wrong, that you have to change the way you're doing things, but most of the time you just have to continue being constant, and eventually you will see results. My second point, which is really important, is that you feel worse because you actually are more aware of your mistakes, or you have more understanding of chess, or more game sense. So this is something that completely changed how I see improvements. Because when you start studying, or when you start playing more seriously, or you actually trying to learn, something happens. You begin to notice more mistakes. Sometimes you feel like you're just playing really bad. And sometimes it could be that. It could be that you just had a bad game or you're having a bad week. But in most of the time, what it means is that you're actually progressing and you're understanding that some of the moves you play are not positionally accurate, or they lack substance. For example, I have a game recorded on my computer, and I'll show it to you in the edit when I edit this video. And when I played it at the moment, I thought this was like my best game ever. Like, what an insane sacrifice. But then after, like, now I look at the video of the chess game, man, I just think it's really bad. I think that positionally I played some really bad moves, and well, it just shows that how you can change your mind and how your experiences change what you see. So this could look like something like maybe you do a blunder, and then after that you don't really change anything because you think it's an okay move. But when you start progressing, you understand that that move is wrong and you try and improve, which is the first step. If you know what you're trying to improve, you will actually improve it. So yeah. My third point is that training does not equal to performance. This is really important because, well, most people think that if you play train 7,000 hours at something, you're gonna maybe improve 100 elo. Well, it's not how it works. It's performance and training. They do have a correlation where if you train a lot or you practice something a lot, you're going to perform better. However, it's not as direct as you think, where it's like an equation where if you train, let's say, a certain time, you will get that much better. It's not how it works. So, well, I actually have a funny story from my personal life that I experienced. So in summer in table tennis, we had a training camp in the capital of Spain, which is Madrid. And we would train there 2 weeks, 6 hours every day. And it was really intense. We had some of the best coaches and the best players in Spain at the time. And well, one of the best coaches that I've ever had told us that when we would come back from like start the season, we would start playing official games. We would actually play worse than before we started going to the camp. And it sounds paradoxical, no? Like, how can I train more and play worse? But she says that when you train a lot or when you learn a lot, your brain finds it hard to process the information, and actually for a few days after, as your brain is trying to understand what you're doing, it usually performs worse. So it's a good thing to understand. Like, if you feel like you've improved a lot and you're playing worse, just think about that. Just remember that sometimes progress takes a little bit of time to show. But yeah. And another example I could say from my table tennis career is that sometimes you practice shots 1,000 times in training, but then you go to an actual game and you miss 3 or 4 of the same balls. So, well, that happens basically because you're playing under game conditions, you're under pressure, so it's a bit more hard, and well, that shows where your technique or your understanding is refined or not, which is really important also. Your elo doesn't instantly reflect your knowledge, there's a delay between that. My fourth point is that plateaus or losing a bunch of games is part of the process. It's perfectly normal that one day you lose 10 games in a row, or you lose 20 games in a row. It doesn't matter, because we've all had bad days, we've all had bad weeks, and it's not something that we can control. It's just that we just have to stay consistent and start improving. So yeah, it's not a sign of failure, it's just a phase of consolidation. That's a really powerful sentence right there. Internally you are improving, and eventually it will show, however it may take some time. My fifth point, which is I think something a lot of us do subconsciously, I especially do that, which is comparison. Comparison is killing your progress. Why is that? Well, comparison, which is the act of comparing yourself to other people, this could be such as your peers or other YouTubers or anyone basically. What that creates is a false illusion that you can maybe perform at the same level as someone that's been training for many more years, or that involves has much bigger time involvement, or maybe just has better natural abilities. For example, well, of course, I'm not a good chess player by any means, but I can't compare myself to, for example, someone like Faustino Oro, because he, even though he's younger and he's probably played less years than me, he just has such a good natural ability that I could never compare myself to him. So, in general, you should never compare yourself to anybody except for yourself from previous years or previous months, which I think is the most accurate representation of if you've actually improved or not. This can sometimes create, well, false illusions when saying like, why not me? Why haven't I improved? And it can also create an illusion that I have to change what I'm doing, which most of the cases is usually not good. In conclusion, is your progress actually fake? Of course not. It's not fake. It just doesn't feel like the way you expected. You feel worse because sometimes you understand things better, or your elo is maybe even going under what you expect it to be. But that's completely fine, because if you stick to what you're doing and you stay constant to your training or your games or whatever you're doing in your life, eventually it will show that you will achieve your goals. And I can assure you 100%, if you stay consistent, you focus, well, not 100%, but if you just focus on your objectives and what you're doing, you will have ups and downs, that is certain. But eventually you will improve. You will be better than your past self. And at the end of the day, self-improvement is all we can wish for. If you're seeing this, it's because you've watched the video until the end. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed the content and hopefully you learned something from it. This video took me a long time, and since I'm just starting out on YouTube, if you want to like or even subscribe, I would greatly appreciate you. Also, if you want to drop down in the comments something you enjoyed or something you think I should improve, please do, as it really helps my channel. Thank you so much for everything, and see you guys in the next video.